Hey, welcome back to just 15 minutes. Let's try to keep it to that. The last video went to about 30 minutes, just ramble, basically. Ramble, ramble, ramble. But anyway, there you go. Okay, what have we got this time around? Well, I'm in Visual Studio Code, VS Code. For those who hate VS Code, then it's probably good to move on and try something else. But it's a good application. It's free. It does all sorts of weird and wonderful things that you want it to do. So just to let you know, I'm using 1.92 at the moment, which I think is the latest. Good old Electron. I mean, it gets a lot of flack, but you think, well, there are some really good options for cross-platform development, but Electron is there, isn't it? It's still very, very strong in that space. But anyway, but I don't know what I'm about to show you is VS Code profiles. I think it came out, there's quite a few versions ago. I'll try to find out exactly when, but if you're on the latest-ish version, I'm using just the standard release, not the pre-release, the dev channel or anything like that. So this is VS Code. Now I've got, like everybody, I've got all my themes set up, dark theme and things like that. But of course, if I go to extensions, I've got far too many extensions. Absolutely loads of the darn things. Obviously, I get inspired and think, oh, I'll get .NET MAUI. I tend to use Visual Studio for that type of stuff still, but I know VS Code has got a lot of good support for this stuff now. I've got a lot of Azure stuff. I've got some old Angular stuff. I don't do too much Angular these days. But anyway, that's another story for another day, isn't it? Lots of Azure machine learning, of course. Who doesn't? There's lots of stuff. And I've probably used these extensions once or more, but there's some that I haven't used in ages. In fact, builder.io is really good, actually, like a headless CMS. But anyway, I need to come back to that. That's another video, maybe in a few weeks' time. But I've got, as you can see, I've got a lot of extensions, and I've just collected them, and it basically means that VS Code ends up looking like a bit of a jungle. Not to mention, I've also got VS Code pets, by the way. So I've got VS Code pets. I can throw a little ball. There you go. There's VS Code pets if you really get bored. Okay, and you can spawn a new... there we go. Do you have a rubber duck? Yeah, we'll have a rubber duck. Donald, well, obviously. How could it not be anything else? There you go. So there's Donald Duck. And you can see where this is going. There's too many, absolutely too many extensions. Okay, so how do we solve this? Well, if you go to settings, and you'll see profile, right? And I bet most people have just seen default and thought, yep, that's it. I've set up obviously color themes and stuff like that, but you don't have to. Okay, in fact, if you have a look at the profile contents there, you can see you've got all your UI state, your extensions, and there's all my extensions. Way too many. So the idea is with profiles is that you can split things up. So if you're working more in like JavaScript front end, you might want TypeScript, this, that, and the other, or if you're doing .NET stuff, just .NET, or if you're doing some Azure machine learning, just have those extensions. And by the way, these go with you, just like your, if you've got your settings sync, there we go, settings sync is on. So they travel with you from machine to machine, and including code spaces as well, which I think most of them anyway. Okay, so code space is the GitHub code space where you can have VS Code in the cloud, and there's actually quite a generous free version of that. So you can ironically use VS Code local, but have your project in the cloud, or even use VS Code in the cloud. So that's quite nice if you're doing some collaboration coding and things like that. Collaborating. Yeah, there you go. That's a new word. But anyway, back to where we are at the moment. So if we want to create a new profile, okay, we can literally go new profile. I'm going to call it David Clean. There we go. I could copy from like the default one and then remove extensions that I don't want. Okay, that's probably a good way of doing it. As you saw on the previous screen, you can actually export your profile anyway and then import if you need to. But the point being is I'm going to say none. There are some templates as well. Okay, so sort of starter templates if you want to call it that, but I'm just going to say none. I'm going to give it a different icon as well because I just can. One of those ones will do. It doesn't really matter. And you can see choose what to configure in your new profile. So you can leave certain things, like if you want your settings being kept across all profiles, great, that's fine. So you can untick it and it'll use the profile across all of them. So it's quite nice, really, especially things like keyboard shortcuts and stuff. You don't want to necessarily redefine those on all your profiles. Okay, but right now I'm just going to do that. Okay, and it goes away, whirs around a little bit, does a few things. But first of all, you notice that in my window at the bottom here, the command window area, a lot of those extension tabs have disappeared. Okay, now what I can actually also do is let me go, and you can see I've got a different icon now. Okay, yep. So I'm going to go to themes, color theme, and I'll just pick something like Visual Studio Light, something like that. Oh goodness me, that is bright, isn't it? Okay, now that's got me. Now if I ever look at extensions, that'll prove that it's got some recommendations, but if I just collapse these up, you can see, look, in my installed I've got nothing. Okay, a really fresh, clean version of VS Code, which I think is really nice, actually. So I could now add the extension. Maybe I'm going to create this one for I'm quite curious about using Data Wrangler. Okay, if you haven't come across that, it's data viewing, cleaning, preparation for tabular data sets. It's actually really good. Okay, maybe I'll do a video on that one at some stage, but I could obviously just install that here. Okay, and of course then if I look back, if I can use, yep, installed. That is all I've got in this profile now. Okay, so switching back is as easy as going to the profile and saying, well, obviously it's just default at the moment. So I can flick back, and before you know it, I'm back, and I've got all my tabs there. Notebooks, Jupyter Notebooks somewhere hiding, a few other things. And again, you know, the problem is that when you've got all the extensions, it's doing all the background tasks as well, which is not a problem, but it's just that I didn't know about this profile business. And now I do. I can say I only want a profile to work with Azure, you know, some of my Azure functions or something like that. So I can flick back to the, and it's got a different theme, so you can make it, you know, different for different things. As I say, when you create that profile, on there, new profile, you do get the option, like I say, what to configure. So if you uncheck like settings and keyboards and snippets, they'll carry on from your base default. Okay, so that's what I mean. I think a lot of those keyboard shortcuts and things like that are great. Even the theme, dare I say, is you might want to create that, or like I've done, just create a different theme. That is so bright for me at the moment. I'm so used to the dark themes. But either way, you've got a different theme you can work with. You know that you're in a different profile. And again, you've got a little different icon down at the bottom. You can keep it the same, obviously. But there we go. And I think that is pretty awesome, really. And again, you can actually export these. You can export profiles. So if you've got a really nice set, you could share it with, you know, your co-workers or friends or whatever it is. if they want to grab that copy of the profile. So I think this is pretty useful actually. It gives you a lot of customization and it keeps things clean for different, for different sort of workspaces ultimately. So that's what I've got this time around. That is about it. So all I've got to say is if you could like and subscribe, of course, that would always help. And obviously, if you've got any comments about this or any suggestions, please get in touch. Actually, in a future video, I'm going to be going through some agentic systems. I think I mentioned that in the last one about AI agents and some of the things that you can do with that as well. But that's what I've got this time around, VS Code profiles. So have a safe week and we'll catch you on the next one.